Good day, artist! Today we'll be doing a 3D modeling exercise in Blender, based on references that you can also keep in mind when working in any 3D modeling program, especially if you're not very familiar with it, as is my case with Blender. I've just started using it, and although I already know how to model in 3ds Max, I'm not very proficient with this new tool, so there's nothing better to warm up than doing these kinds of exercises. The first step is to find a reference image that will help us model it easily and step by step. Pinterest is a great platform for this. In my case, we'll make this accessory using it as a reference, although we'll probably end up making some changes. The first step is to find a reference image to help us model easily and step by step. In my case, we'll be making this accessory using it as a reference, although we'll probably end up making some changes. It's essential to have references to practice with. Sadly, almost everything is now AI-powered, but what we need is still created by kind-hearted people who want to help us. Like in this case, where we'll follow these steps to begin today's exercise. I will explain the main steps so that we can keep up, and in case you don't understand some of the changes I've made to the original reference. The first thing we will do is create a plan, add some subdivisions to it, and try to achieve the same shape as our reference. Once we have the basic shape of our boot, we'll move on to the extrusion step. In Blender, we can extrude freely, which isn't very useful when we need the extrusion to be exactly along the Z-axis. Therefore, while the option is enabled, we simply need to press the mouse wheel and drag the mouse to activate the Z-axis. This way, we can move the mouse freely, but will only extrude along the Z-axis. If we want to extrude in another direction, we just need to press the mouse wheel again and change the axis. Now, we will just adjust the edges to achieve a shape similar to our reference. Once we have a relatively similar boot sole, we'll move on to extruding the textile part of the boot. In this case, we'll repeat the previous step, activate the extrusion option, limit its orientation to the Z-axis, and finally adjust the vertices according to our reference image. If you see that the number of polygons is different, don't worry, we will optimize the polygons better later. Now we'll make the metal plates that protect the boot. For now, we'll just need to extrude, but using the normals of the faces as a reference. You can find this option within Blender's extrusion commands, or you can access it directly from PolyCave within the Extrude tool by clicking the gear icon.
Blue coat in the ashtray glow, cheap coffee in a cracked chrome mug, your boots on the rust-stained floor, that smile that says we both run on bugs, our bags like midnight tunnels, keep trace circles on a stained glass screen. Baby, every city falls, you mumble, but the rumor is we slip between. Neon smoke in my lungs when you're near me, static heart coming undone. Can you hear me? Every wrong that we've done feels whole.
Next, we'll create the holes for the bootlaces and add a few more details. To avoid working on both sides, we'll delete half of the boot and then restore it using the symmetry modifier. This way, we can make several modifications on one side and they'll be replicated on the other.
We rise past apartments stacked like code. Billboards flicker, trust us, lover. Your hand finds mine like it's already known. We trade stolen chips for answers. Bartender scans us down to the bone. You say if we burn together and pour cheap fire on our throat. Neon smoke in my lungs when you're near me, static heart coming undone. Can you hear me? Every wrong that we've done feels holy. Neon smoke in my lungs, you own me. Would you jailbreak this tired soul if I flatline on your floor? Would you haunt these alleys, wear my jacket when I'm nothing but a file in the court?
To make the holes for the bootlaces, we simply need to select the faces and perform an inset operation. This will create a new face within our selection. We'll repeat this step as many times as necessary until we have all the holes we need. Then we'll delete the interfaces we don't need and select the inner loop of the holes to round them off. In this case, I tried using the built-in rounding tool in Blender, but it didn't give me good results. That's why I used the alternative provided by Loop Tools. This tool creates a perfect circle, which is why I recommended in the previous video to have Loop Tools installed beforehand, as we'll end up using it more frequently. We're almost finished. Now we just need to follow the final steps. In this case, we'll shape the upper part of the boot, which is what gives it its fold-over boot style. Having reached this point, we can consider our exercise complete, but if you want to add an extra touch, we can play a bit more with the model's volume. This step is completely unnecessary for this type of low-poly modeling, but it does add a slightly higher level of detail. To give our model thickness, we need to disable our symmetry modifier and then apply the solidify modifier, or shell in Max. This will generate a solid mesh, giving the 3D model volume. Now that we have the desired thickness, we'll remove the internal faces we don't need and begin reconstructing the inside of the boot. We could leave it as is and apply the symmetry modifier, but the goal at this point is to achieve a complete and accurate exercise. For this reason, we'll delete all the unnecessary faces and reconstruct the boot's interior. We don't need that many polygons here, but for this exercise, we'll do it as shown. With the interior now complete, we just need to collapse the mesh to obtain a clean model, and then apply the symmetry modifier again. Artists, we already have the finished model. We just need to add a few more details and put the laces on the boot to achieve a new level of detail. I think the chords will be the trickiest part, but using the tools we've already used throughout this exercise, it'll just be a matter of time before we have it ready. Remember to keep normal display enabled when working with planes. This way, we'll see faces in red when a polygon is misoriented.
Rain on chrome decks, rust on gold teeth, smell of salt, hot wire, boots on steel, slow beat. We docked in a back alley harbor, slot machines scream like gulls, neon flags stitched with skulls, old maps tattooed on knuckles, rum in the recycled flags, crew laughing through metal masks, card chips, curse chips, spread wide, cut the cameras, captain grins, we ride. Neon Corsair swing, steel hulls, dirty halo ring, we raid, we fade, we cling, off the grid into the drink. Neon Corsair swing, black sails on a laser beam, we steal, we deal, we sing, pirates of the cold and the sea. Hook hand taps glass at the bar, I whales over busted speakers, dark kids dance, pocket and reader. Captain's laugh starts the storm, codes flare, boots warm. We board by jumping rooftop rail, street light spray, feels like neon corsair swing. Still holds dirty halo ring. We raid, we fade, we blink off the grid into the dream. Neon corsair swing. Black sails on a laser beam. We steal, we deal, we sing. Pirates of the code and the sea. Who owns the night? Who owns the tide? Not towers built on borrowed time. Just ghosts that never sign. Cut through firewalls, cut through foam. Every ship we take feels like home.
I think we've finished the basic shape of our boot. This is a time-lapse video with the main steps explained, and without many interruptions, so you have a guide when modeling any image you use as a reference. Remember that I've been a 3ds Max user my whole life and have never used Blender as a modeling tool. But in recent months, I've developed this wonderful add-on that allows me to have the main tools for modeling in Blender readily available, just as if I were modeling in Max. This makes it easier for me to migrate to Blender and continue modeling without having to discard all the knowledge I've acquired previously. In the video description, I'll leave the resources used in this tutorial, as well as the 3D model of the boot itself, so you can use it in your personal studio projects and have it as a reference for making your own boot. I hope you start trying this method of modeling, using step-by-step images as references. Throughout this month, we'll continue to have these types of videos to help us become more familiar with Blender and practice our skills. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you'll leave a like and a comment telling me which part was the most challenging for you. That's all for now. Have a great week and a wonderful day.